Welcome everyone to a brand new segment on my channel. Today, I am starting a new series called Your Favorite Movies, where I have someone else on and then we talk about their favorite movie. And in this episode, I'm starting off with Josh from After Credits. Josh, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks, Ewan. Glad to be on the channel again. We did a review of Cobra Kai Season 3 back in January now, a while ago. Just great to be back. And obviously, if it's my favorite movie, then I will have a fun time talking about it. So,
Yeah, and what is your favorite movie? Let's reveal it to everyone.
so if you don't know, my favorite movie is Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained. I believe the seventh film, if you count Kill Bill as one film, which I do, because he does.
Same.
And I guess my experience with it was, I think in summer 2020, that's when I really got into movies. Like I like to tell myself I was always into movies, but no, I would go and see an MCU film when I liked the trailer for it. But summer 2020, I really got into movies. I would start watching them if I heard they were critically acclaimed. If my dad said, "Oh, you have to watch this one," then I was like, "Okay, I'll watch it." And then I started to get into Quentin Tarantino, who is now my favorite director. I wasn't at the time. And so I started with Inglourious Bastards, really liked it. And then I watched Pulp Fiction, your favorite movie, and really
Yep,
liked it as
one of them.
well. And then I was listening to, I don't know if you watch the Flick Pick, John Flickinger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was watching one of his live streams. He does various live streams. And he was saying how Django Unchained is his favorite Tarantino film. And I was like, oh, okay, I might as well give this one a shot. And I watched it and I was like, yeah, this is my favorite. Not favorite film, but it instantly became my favorite Tarantino film. And when I tell a lot of people that, like, what, you'd seen Pulp Fiction and you still say this is your favorite? I'm like, yeah, well, I just liked a lot about this film. I found it to be the most enjoyable. It's 2 hour 40 minutes. Now, at this time, I was used to maybe 90 minutes or 2 hours being a standard run time, and this one was almost 3 hours, but I didn't feel it at all. I felt like entertained throughout, and I started to look at films from a filmmaking standpoint from this point onwards, because I could just see camera work. I could see the way he'd used the color red, the way he'd used violence, the way the performances. I mean, I didn't know the famous scene where Leo smashes his hand, that he actually cut his hand. And then I thought, you obviously know Film Stocked, but if anyone who does,
Yeah, of
Chris,
course.
he made a top 10 Leonardo DiCaprio performances. And I said, oh, Django Unchained is probably my favorite. And he said, yeah, it's amazing when you consider that he actually broke his hand. I was like, okay, oh, great. And that was just amazing. And then I think last month, yeah, I did my Tarantino ranking once I'd seen all 9 of his films.
Go
And
watch
then
it. It's linked down below.
thank you. And then because obviously, I wrote the notes, and as I was writing about Django Unchained, and I was watching more other people's video essays on his filmography, and then as I was speaking about it, I was like, God, yeah, this film really is great. I should rewatch it. And so I rewatched it after the video had come out, and not only was it my favorite Tarantino film at that point, but it became my favorite film. Now, at the time, my favorite film was About Time. I don't know if you've seen it. It's sort
I
of
haven't
time
seen it, but I
travel.
know what it is.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah, okay. And I still really love that film. I think that's second, yeah, second favorite film. But Django Unchained like immediately became a first. And when I switched it to number one on my letterbox, it was like someone changing their relationship status on Facebook, because I just got like people messaging me on Discord like, wait, it's your favorite now? What? When did this happen? And I was like, it's my favorite now, and I I love it. I thought about it ever since I watched it for a second time every day, and it's definitely my favorite. I don't love all of Tarantino's films. I think they're all good though. He hasn't made a bad movie, but Django Unchained is definitely my favorite one.
So I
Yeah.
first watched Django Unchained in December of 2018, and it was like around Christmas time, and this was when I was first like really discovering Quentin Tarantino movies. Like the first one I watched was Reservoir Dogs, and then I watched Pulp Fiction, and it was like at that time one of my favorite movies. It was my favorite movie for a while now. Saving Private Ryan has passed it and a few others, but it's
Okay.
it's in the top five for sure, and it is still my favorite Tarantino movie. But Django is one that when I first watched it, I just remember being like, this movie is insane. When you mentioned like with the way Tarantino uses violence and the color red and all this, and the performances are unbelievable. And I just remember like the amount of one of the words is just like insane, and it felt like realistic, but there was still that satire element to it, and the the I need to wait. I'll get around this for spoilers. The hood scene where they have to cut
The
holes in the edge.
masks and Jonah Hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Jonah
Yeah.
Hill. Oh God, that's one of the funniest scenes I've seen in a while. And this used to be top three Tarantino for me. I think I bumped it to number four now because I have spoilers for my Tarantino ranking that's like a year and a half old. But Pulp Fiction, Inglorious Bastards, Reservoir Dogs, and then Django Unchained. But I still do believe this movie is a complete and utter masterpiece. And I'll never forget when my dad was watching it on the plane beside me, and I kept look every time I'd look over his screen, I'd remember this scene. I'd remember this scene, and that shows how great the movie is because it really sticks with you in the end. And the crash zooms, that one of Leonardo DiCaprio
Yeah.
when he turns around on the couch is just. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. That one exactly. It's yeah, I just think it's a fantastic movie overall, and I can definitely see why it's your favorite.
Yeah. We actually have the same top four then, Tarantino, different order. Which is good. And it's funny, I think you said you watched it around Christmas because I saw a documentary about Tarantino's first 8 films. This actually came out on Christmas Day.
I
And
can
I
see that.
remember, yeah, Samuel Jackson was like, I mean, this guy had the balls to release a film that said the N word this many times on Christmas Day. I was about to do an impression there, but I thought I'd save myself the embarrassment. But yeah, it's just, I think I like pretty much everything about it. Yes, the visuals are stunning. Like, I'm a guy who's kind of squirmish when it comes to blood. Like, if I see blood, but the
Yeah.
way he uses it is in such a comical way. Like, there are guys, spoilers, lying around the floor. He shoots them. It's like ketchup bottles just squirting out. And maybe it's a bit morbid, but I find that so satisfying to see, just because of how he uses it and how he moves the camera, how he does whip pans, how he, close-ups, push-ins, every kind of camera movement that he uses is just brilliant. And like how you mentioned, where quick zoom into Leo's face, that's just, it's inspired because I would just sort of watch films and not really think about technical aspects of it. But I watch this, I look at the camera movements, I look at the script, I look at, because obviously Tarantino's dialogue is amazing, and I've never seen dialogue that was so captivating before. And obviously, I think he's written all of his films, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, and he's also
Yeah,
written the script for True Romance for
and
sure, which is
yeah,
amazing, by the way. And
yes, I need
he
to
had
see that.
some part in Natural Born Killers too. I'm
I
not
think he
sure
wrote
about that.
that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then From Dusk Till Dawn, I know he's an actor
Yes,
in it, but I don't
he's
know.
in it, and I think he wrote it or co-wrote it or something like that.
Yeah, probably with Rodriguez because they work
Yeah.
together. And it's a film where, I mean, runtime used to be a thing that bothered me, but it was the first kind of film where I sat down and was like, huh, I don't feel bored at all. And it just sort of, it opened my mind to not watch. I mean, I still like blockbusters. I mean, MCU films are some of my favorite films, but
Oh
it
yeah.
kind of made me appreciate filmmaking and watching films to see more filmmaking. Like, I've seen now 24 of the 25 Scorsese films. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I've got Goodfellas left, which is going to be my nice finale.
Goodfellas third
Yes,
on.
there we go. Okay. So, I've been just, and I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of my videos lately have been director rankings because I've
Yeah.
been a lot more into, because I've always liked filmmaking, but I've never watched films for the purpose of seeing filmmaking. And this film really opened my eyes up to that. And also, it's a great time. I mean, it's a serious subject matter, but it's hilarious. Like the scene
Yeah.
you mentioned with Jonah Hill and the masks, that is just that it's something so, like, you wouldn't expect humor to be in a scene like that, but it works. And also, I didn't mention this before, but I like how he uses modern music. Like, I think some sort of rap song or something plays as Django walks out with the guns, and it's a weird pairing because obviously he doesn't, in his films he uses sort of soundtracks more than original
Yeah.
scores. I think Inglorious Bastards is the only one that I'm not
I
sure, but
think so. Yeah, that
yeah.
sounds right.
Yeah. And so I just like the use of pop music because it makes it slightly more relatable, even though I can't really say I relate to any situation that happens in this film.
No, not
No,
really.
no. And it's revisionist history. It's part of his 3 films that kind of changed the events of history.
Yep.
And for that, it's like he said growing up he watched a lot of blaxploitation films, and so for him, he's telling a serious story, but yeah, he's just kind of giving people a hero, black people a hero. Because I saw in interviews black people saying, well, I've never seen a kind of story where the black person's the hero. He gets to just ride off into the sunset, kill a bunch of guys, you know, ride off into the sunset with a girl. And it's like, yeah, it has a serious story, but at the end of the day, he's delivering on that kind of entertainment, and it's fun. You know, it's a fun movie. It's painful to watch at times. There are some really gruesome, tense scenes
Yeah,
with his wife, Hilda, I believe. Um,
something like that.
yeah, and obviously there's a really tense scene at the dinner table with DiCaprio, which is one of my favorite scenes in film, just because of the performances and the
You
tension.
lay your hands flat on the table.
Yeah. There's just a lot to take away from this film on every aspect I can think of. There's probably things that as soon as we're done recording, I'm gonna go, oh shit, you know, I should have said that. Should have said that.
Exactly. Always have.
But I mean, my favorite movie does change, not a lot, but it does change. So I can't say for sure this is always going to be my favorite, but for the purposes of this video, Django Unchained is my favorite film.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And Tarantino really finds a way to mix the humor with the intensity, as you mentioned. And one of my favorite scenes ever. Now, this was in my 100 favorite movies, and I still believe it. It still is for sure. And one of my favorite scenes of all time is when Django walks up and he pulls out the gun, shoots the guy. I like the way you die,
Yeah,
boy. It's
boy.
just amazing. Just one of the greatest like revenge stories, I think, and that scene really shows it because you mentioned obviously the wife and the horrific events there. And I think that we have to talk about the acting because Christoph Waltz won Best Supporting Actor, and he completely deserved it. His performance in Inglourious Basterds, I think, is one of the greatest of all time. And here, I feel like it almost doesn't get talked about as much as it should because everyone talks about that one in Inglourious Basterds, which they should. But this one is also amazing. I love the story with it, and that line, the final line with Leonardo DiCaprio is just so well done. The way he just gives off his lines is absolutely perfect in my eyes.
Normally, I would say auf Wiedersehen. But since what auf Wiedersehen actually means is till I see you again, and since I never wish to see you again, to you, sir, I say goodbye.
Yeah, I forgot to even mention Christoph Waltz, and yeah, he definitely deserved it because I'd seen Inglourious Basterds before I saw this, but when I saw Django Unchained, I didn't actually recognize that was Hans Landa, and that's a good thing because if
Yeah.
he completely disappears into the role, then you know he's a good actor, and I mean it says on the cover of this, you know, best supporting actor, so yeah,
hmm
definitely he deserves it.
Oh yeah, and of course we kind of talked about Leonardo DiCaprio. I think it's one of his best performances. I'm pretty sure that you agree here.
Yeah,
And then we have our leading man, Jamie Foxx, who just continues to surprise me. I just see more and more of his films, and I'm like, yeah, this guy is so talented in here, perfectly, perfectly casted as Django. I think he leads it with such charisma, but you also feel that the fact that this guy, well, he was a slave for a while, so he still has that aspect to it that really kind of makes him seem vulnerable in a way.
yeah, definitely. I mean, Jamie Foxx is a guy like I've never hated. There are a few of his roles that are a bit cringy. But I mean,
Annie.
like, yeah, and I actually I like his portrayal of Electro. It's kind of goofy. I mean, electricity fixes his teeth, but whatever. And obviously he was great in Soul from last year.
Oh
But
yeah.
I really think he was great. And it's probably my favorite performance of his. Not my favorite Leo performance. That has to go to The Wolf of Wall Street. But
Hell
favorite
yeah.
Christoph
I
Waltz.
agree.
Yeah, favorite Christoph Waltz. Favorite Jamie Foxx. And second favorite DiCaprio. So it's pretty good. Pretty good, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many for DiCaprio. Like I put What's Eating Gilbert Grape under. I'm not sure if you've seen that, but
No, haven't.
absolutely insanely incredible performance. And Christoph Waltz, I prefer him in Inglourious Basterds, but here he, as you said, unrecognizable. Jamie Foxx, I think I'd have to give his number one to Collateral. It'd either be
Yeah,
Collateral or this
Collateral.
one,
Yeah.
because Collateral is a phenomenal film, and I really love Jamie Foxx. I need to see Ray still, and then of course he was great in Soul here, and then also Samuel L. Jackson is one that
Yes.
like nobody talks about his performance here. Maybe that is because he's in basically all of Tarantino's movies, but this has to
Yeah.
be one of his best performances in Tarantino movies, especially, and one of the best I've seen from him, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he transcends the Samuel Jackson. I mean,
Hmm
because Pulp Fiction is undoubtedly his most like iconic role. in a Tarantino film, and then
Yeah.
maybe generally, I don't know, but definitely in a Tarantino film. And then he kind of had a smallish, maybe simpler role in Jackie Brown. He did some voiceover stuff in Inglourious
Glorious
Basterds,
Bastards.
yeah. And then he had like a 1 second cameo in Kill Bill. But
Piano,
this
yeah.
was him coming back. I mean, obviously, Hateful Eight, he returns to an actual lead role. But this one, he came back and he completely, I mean, he had a lot of prosthetics and everything on, but he completely transforms into this different character. Like, he is not the guy from Pulp Fiction. He is not Nick Fury. He is not Frozone. He is this guy. He is this old kind of, he must, I don't know, some sort of mental thing. I don't know. He's getting towards the end of his life, and he's kind of like one where the slave owners wouldn't really do anything bad to him. He can talk smack to them. He can say anything he wants because he knows he has a bit of immunity. And he's just like, you hate him. You just kind of hate this guy. I mean, you know, fantastic performance, but spoilers at the end when he gets blown up. Django, you uppity son of a bitch. Yeah, that's satisfying. And something I saw someone say this kind of funny thing. In 2002, in Attack of the Clones, Samuel Jackson kills Django Fett. But in 2012, Django kills Samuel Jackson, so bit of trivia there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
It all comes full circle.
I didn't even think of that. I don't know how I didn't realize that as a big Star Wars fan. That's awesome. And yeah, like as you said, the prosthetics, it's another one like Christoph Waltz where I always say Christoph, but it's Christoph Waltz, where he really disappears into this character. And I think one of the funniest shots in the movie only lasts for like a few seconds. And it shows how over the top this movie is, but also self-aware when Django shoots the girl and she goes, boom. It just flies.
Yeah. She's like, it's like a wire is attached to her waist. And just
and they just pulled it, and she just goes flying. It is so awesome.
Yeah.
And there's even things like, have you seen Game Night?
I had with Jason Bateman,
Yeah,
Amy Adams.
Yeah. And Amy Adams,
Sorry.
Rachel Adams. Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
There's even things in that where they're like, this is some Django Unchained shit going on when they have like the two guys like fighting in there, and it shows that that movie only came out 6 years after Django Unchained, and it made such an impact. And it's a movie that sticks with you, especially because of that whole almost satire element to it. Like he finds a way to do this with a lot of the things, like obviously Inglourious Bastards too. Find a horrible situation and make it funny but also important. Do you realize how bad it was, but you're also laughing your ass off at so many of the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, there are points where you see the levity, you see the seriousness of it, because it's a very serious subject matter.
Yeah.
But then there's other times it's just hilarious. It's cool, it's hilarious. You kind of go, yeah, fuck yeah, you smile with a pipe in your mouth while you've just blown up a whole house full of people. Yeah, it's great.
That is the best way to put it. That is how
Yeah.
When you finish the movie, the credits are rolling, you feel like you're Django there, the glasses on, riding off on your horse. I agree with the pacing too, like that's going back on it too. But Tarantino movies are normally longer movies, obviously, and this one just completely flies by. Now, I have only seen the movie once somehow, and now holding this, I'm like, I do need to watch this again. I really do. And I don't know, there's just something really special about it. The fact that I only watched it once, like 2.5 years ago, and it really is still stuck with me. I remember, I mean, I could rewatch it and be like, yep, I remember this scene, and probably all of them. There's something so great about it. Everyone is casted amazing. Also, Kerry Washington as his wife, we didn't mention, but she is really, really great here.
Yeah, and I haven't seen her in much else. I can't think of anything actually off the top of my head, but she was definitely great in this.
Yeah, everyone's just casted to perfection, and the dialogue, it's got to be some of Tarantino's best. The way that the tones are all mixed together, I think it has some of the most epic scenes, especially in Tarantino movies, probably of the past decade for sure. And just so well written, and you hate Leonardo DiCaprio's character so much, but you know it's good when you hate a character. You know they give a really great performance if you're supposed to. If you're not supposed to hate a character, then obviously. But everyone here is so great. The dialogue is amazing. The violence, as you said, you're squeamish, but it's still so much fun.
Yeah.
Such a blast to watch. I really love this movie, and I can definitely see why it's your favorite.
Yeah, and you mentioned the screenplay. This won Best Screenplay for, it'd be the 2013 Oscars, but I think, did Pulp Fiction win in 94? because I thought actually Forrest Gump won, so I think this might be
Forrest
Tarantino's
Gump won
first
Best
best
Picture, but
picture
I don't
anyway.
remember if it
The
was if
screenplay.
I think screenplay might have gone to Tarantino. I'll check that right now. I mean, he deserves all these Oscars. I think that this is some of his best. A lot of people actually, not like a ton of people. I feel like whenever someone says their favorite Tarantino movie, it's either Pulp Fiction or Inglourious Bastards. Those are the two most
Yeah.
common, one or the other. So saying Django was your favorite is actually really good, and I always love hearing that because it's just such a badass movie. I think it's just so cool. Like when you watch this, you're like, yeah, this is just cool. And it sounds like the worst way to describe it, like a terrible way to describe it. But
Yeah,
that's kind of how I
exactly.
feel while watching it. You get put in the shoes almost of this character to when it's burning down, you're like, I just witnessed something really incredible.
Yeah, and yeah, what you said, yeah, Inglourious Basterds and Pulp Fiction seem to be most people's top two. I mean, honestly, at Film Stock, I think he said it was Once Upon a Time on the
Yeah.
movie drafts thing, and then
Yep.
I actually saw a tweet by James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy director. He said Jackie Brown was his favorite.
Yeah, that's
So
surprising.
yeah, so
I
there you
think
go.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt said that too. I remember seeing a tweet from
Really,
him saying that.
that's
And
actually my
that,
least favorite one. I mean, nothing against it, but it just
yeah,
happens to be
that one's my second least. Like I have
the
Death
Death Proof.
Class
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then that one. And I still, again, for those watching, like Quentin Tarantino is my favorite director. I have a hoodie that says written and directed by Quentin Tarantino.
I've
When
seen those. Yeah,
it
they're
it's
great.
it's so hot out to the point where I had to change into shorts today, which I mean I live in Ontario, Canada. That's surprising for
Saying
April,
something.
but I would wear it. And he's my favorite director. I would say him and Scorsese, it goes back between them, but I'd say right now he's my favorite. And I like all the movies, and even Jackie Brown. I've seen it once. I'm not dying to rewatch it like I am this, but it's still good movie. So it proves how great of a director he is. And I also have to say good job for holding up your phone the entire time.
It's been annoying. My arm is like resting on this metal thing. It's been digging. I don't know what's it's fully charged, but I think maybe because the cable's coming out the other end, but who knows?
Maybe. Oh God, who knows?
Well, if you haven't seen it, sorry for spoiling it, but go and check it out because it's still amazing. But otherwise, no. I mean, just thank you for having me on. It was great. I believe this is the first one of these in this series, so thank you for having me on.
Of
It's
course.
really fun to do this. It was really fun to talk about it. And yes, you should definitely rewatch it because I think you'll have a fun time with it.
I definitely will, and when I rewatch it, I'll make a post about it on Instagram. I need to kind of keep going with my letterbox because I need to. I haven't logged films in like 2 or 3 weeks, but
I mean, yeah, Django Unchained I think was one of the first films when I watched it for the first time that I ever logged on Letterboxd. I was kind of like,
same.
yeah, I'll do this every now and then. And now it's just like if I see something, I straight away log it. I've become addicted to it. I log everything. I make sure it's all there. And it's like, why? But I do it anyway because it makes me happy. So yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. Sometimes I just forget, and then I want to get the date right, so then I have to do it on my
Yeah.
computer. So I'm just like, oh, this is a mess. And even when I first watched it, this was one of the first ones I also logged on Letterboxd because it's from
All right.
2018, and I think it was just like I just wrote like loved it. I'll put it on the screen like loved it. Tarantino's third best or something like whatever I
All
thought at the
right. Okay.
time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really great. All of Josh's stuff will be linked down below. All his YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of that after credits. Definitely make sure to subscribe. His content is amazing. Check out those directors' rankings. They are a ton of fun. And thank you, Josh, for being here. And everyone, make sure to come back when I have more episodes of these. I'm hoping to do it weekly, but I just kind of got to plan it out with everyone else. You know, everyone's schedule is busy. COVID really is messing everything up. Still over a year later. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.